the ability to, again, leave a toxic job, the ability to just say, nope, I'm not going to do this anymore, I think is so powerful. And again, so necessary for your mental health. I also just don't want you going through a crisis and having, how do I afford this, as the first thing on your mind when you have a million things you already have to think about with an emergency.
So people ask you, should I save first or pay off my debts? And you had quite a strong response. You said save first, regardless of, how high interest the debt is. It's really important to save, especially to put away 3 months of living expense in a HYSA. So tell me about that. Why do you have that kind of notion about save first, regardless of, how high interest that debt is?
Yeah, I have a whole section in my book about this because it is a question I get. And it's always with the second question is they go, should I save first or pay off debt first? And I go, save first. And they go, but I have X amount of debt with X amount of interest rate. And I'm like, you still need to save first. 3 reasons. 1, I don't want you going into more debt trying to pay for an emergency. One inevitably happens, right? You get laid off, you get sick, your dog gets sick, your cat gets sick, your roof starts leaking, right? There's a million expenses that are emergencies that could come up. So that's the first thing, is I don't want you either slipping into debt or going into more debt, typically costly debt, which is credit cards, trying to pay for that emergency. The second thing is that we really value mental health at Her First 100K and the feeling of just knowing I'm okay, at least for a period of time. And I've talked to countless women about this. When their head hits the pillow at night and they know they have something in savings, it's just a weight off their chest. Again, knowing, okay, if I got fired tomorrow, I'm okay. If something happens tomorrow, I'm okay for a period of time. And I was almost going to say money can't buy that feeling, but it literally can. So I think that that's really important, is just this relief that you feel knowing, yep, I have something in savings to cover me. The last thing, in this vein of money can buy us options, I want you to have the ability to get out of a bad situation if you need to do that. 99% of abusive marriages have some sort of financial abuse tied to them. We know the statistics around, domestic violence and how typically women in these relationships are not able to get out, and it's largely due to money. They are not able to leave a bad situation because they are financially unable to do so. The ability to, again, leave a toxic job, the ability to just say, nope, I'm not going to do this anymore, I think is so powerful. And again, so necessary for your mental health. I also just don't want you going through a crisis and having, how do I afford this, as the first thing on your mind when you have a million things you already have to think about with an emergency. So I will say it's definitely an emotional and mental preparation of just giving you peace of mind, giving you the ability to get out of that situation. But also, again, I don't want you slipping into debt or going into more debt trying to pay for that emergency. So that's why we prioritize it first. The other reason I talk about living expenses as the number versus like a solid number, Dave Ramsey infamously, right, has this $1,000 starter emergency fund. I don't know about you, $1,000 doesn't even cover like 1 month's rent for me, right? Yet alone groceries and insurance and all of the rest of it. So this is why we go off of living expenses, because every person's emergency fund is going to be slightly different. And if you hear 3 months of living expenses and you're like, oh my God, that seems like so much money, just start with 1 month. Right. Like 1 month having something in savings is better than nothing. And I think 3 months is a good amount of time for you to feel financially stable and, again, the sense of relief. And then we start paying off our debt.
Mm-hmm. You're very right there about even just the rent in any big city these days. North America, it's that $1,000 is not going to go far.
Yep.
So I just one final question on the mental health aspect of that, because I agree that that's very important and at the heart of this. Are there any other ways that kind of that mental health focus manifests itself in other financial strategies that you recommend?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's so many. I hate to shamelessly plug my book, but like truly the entire book and all of our work is focused on like, how do you take care of yourself first and think of money again as a tool to build a life that you love. And we spend the whole first chapter talking about the emotions of money, because I didn't see many financial books talking about both. I would either see like, here's all of the emotional and psychological shit you're working with, but no solution to it, or completely bypass that and just like, here's the plan. And then what happens is you end up sabotaging yourself because you don't understand your own trauma around money. You don't understand your own emotions around money. The biggest thing is, again, there's so much judgment and shame when it comes to money. I could go out on the street right now and ask 100 people, what is the, word you associate with money? And I don't think it would be pleasure or safety or joy or ease. I think it would I know it would most likely be shame and anxiety and fear and stress, right?